Hello, everybody. Welcome to Brighter. So there are quite a bit of news today and this week about Tesla. We were just inundated with so much news. First of all, we're going to be talking about today that there's a Detroit Auto Show. There's a Senate meeting that Elon is attending. They're talking about AI. Ron Barron was interviewed by CNBC. We'll cover that in detail. And big news, the European Union just announced a commission that might crack down on Chinese electric vehicles in Europe. How much exactly is China subsidizing BYD? We'll cover that in detail. So today we've got Brian White with us. He's a host of MyTeslaWeekend. You should check out his YouTube channel. And what he does that no one else really does is he goes to all of these events. And today he's actually at the Detroit Auto Show. So thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you joining me.
It's crazy here in the Motor City. The Detroit Auto Show, we're seeing a bunch of interesting stuff. But mostly what we're seeing is little changes from the big guys. There is Tesla test drives here, but they're not part of the show. There was some rumor that they would be. Apparently some discussions were ongoing. And then the Detroit Auto Show just went out and bought 3 Teslas to zip around inside. And that's the whole present. So good work. We sold 3 more cars. Yeah, and then of course you've got Rivian and Porsche and all the other guys are here in some capacity. But there's not a whole lot of really breaking news on the electric car front, unfortunately.
Okay, so last week or 2 weeks ago, we were reporting that Tesla was going to be at the Detroit Auto Show. Then they retracted that they weren't going to be there, right? So are the cars going to be at least, or they may still show up in a few days, right? Because it's only September 13th.
Right. There are 3 cars that you can be ridden around on an indoor test track on. But that is the extent of their presence at this time. They don't have a booth. They don't have any, and these are not Tesla employees manning the booth. These are Detroit Auto Show employees. They just knew that it would be a ridiculous clown show if you're showing the future of automotive and the leader ain't here.
Okay. Well, well, still early, September 13th. Let's move on to other bit of news. So we've got Elon Musk and Zuckerberg and Sam Altman and a variety of other important people in AI being summoned to the Senate. And they're talking about making sure that the AI is handled properly, commissioned to look at that. And so here's a video of Elon.
Do you think this should be open to the public, sir? And what's your mission today with lawmakers? Sorry. Just up.
Okay, so that's a quick short video that's making the rounds on X this morning. Elon is there and he gave the heart signal. What's your thoughts on this commission about AI? And Elon and Mark were there and hopefully nothing happened, but we'll see.
I'm sure the billionaires behave themselves among one another. The commission's a great idea. I think the execution is all wrong. I think the politics behind it is going to remain all wrong. They want to say, hey, maybe we need to slow down and take a pause and get some better idea of what we're doing before we actually do it. And that's great. That's what Elon's been suggesting for years. They just haven't listened to it. And you've seen what legislation looks like when it addresses technological issues. It's always 20 years behind. The do not call list didn't come about until senators realized that they had to answer their own phones. The spam blocking laws didn't come into effect until they had to start checking their own emails. The AI thing, laws are very reactionary and technology moves very, very fast. So I'm afraid that this is just political grandstanding because that's what politicians are good at. And I don't think that even if they were sincere in their efforts, that they would actually be capable of enacting meaningful legislation in a time frame that would matter. And it certainly wouldn't affect AI in any other country. So if these new restrictions were to put any kind of damper on Google or Microsoft or Facebook, Meta, Tesla, any of them, they would just move the servers offshore. And I don't think it would help anything. So it's a great idea. I just think the execution is impossible in a best case scenario.
Okay. Well, I'm glad that Elon is there. Of all the things I've heard from a variety of folks, I actually do agree with Elon saying and his sensibility of what he expects to happen. So that's good. Okay, I'm going to share another very quick news, and then we're going to get right to the Ron Barron show here. So we've got information this morning came out from Ray for Tesla saying that the official name for the refresh Model 3 is Model 3 Plus. So if you take a look at the back of the Model 3, it actually says Model 3 Plus. What do you think about that, Brian?
Oh, I think that's great. I think it does need to be differentiated. I think it's a significant enough improvement. And because they don't do model years in the traditional way, it's not like you can say, oh, I bought a 23 Model 3 versus a 24 Model 3 and just know what we're talking about. Because there's going to be some overlap. Right now, they're making 23 model year cars or 24, whatever it is, but they're making Model 3 in two different designs, the original one and the new one. And then in Fremont, they're still just making the old one. So you do need a way to differentiate it until all of them are out in the same form factor.
Yeah. Model 3 Plus, I think, is not a great name, but, it needs, I don't even know if they needed a different name, right? It's Model 3. That's what this is.
I think it just adds clarity. And it's something that may disappear in the future, like how SR disappeared.
Okay. Interesting. So just for this to maybe next 6 months kind of year, maybe. Okay. Thanks, Brian. That's interesting. Model 3 Plus. None of us would have guessed that that's the case. Let's get to the next big topic, which is Ron Barron. He is, multi-billionaire investor in Tesla. He's been one of the greatest bulls, but he has such a great way of explaining what has happened. He was interviewed this morning by CNBC. So I'm going to play a clip from Tom Nash. Tom has his own YouTube channel, and he reviewed it. You should check out his video and see what he says, because he's very, very sharp. I'm going to play that, and then we're going to have you respond to what Ron is saying. It's going to be a 4 to 5 minute clip. So let's watch this.
So Ron Barron, the billionaire investor in Tesla, just went on CNBC minutes ago and schooled the entire panel by dropping some massive bombshells. Let's watch the interview, and then I'm going to give my honest reaction to what just happened.
So Tesla is now at a similar stage where it was in 2014, 2015, when I was investing 16, and they were doing 40,000 cars a year. They're now doing 1.8 million, on the way to 20 million. And they've been growing 50% a year. And this year they'll probably be up, 25, 30%. Next year, about the same. But there's a new car coming.
25-30% revenue?
No, units.
Or units.
Units. And then they got this, the battery business, which is $6 billion a year, and that's going to be up triple over the next 3 years, and that's going to go up 30 times.
There's been a lot made over the UAW and the potential strike that is facing the big three automakers here. And what's been brought up is they have all of these EVs that they have to deal with. Their cost basis is quite a bit higher than Tesla.
Way higher. So, so every time they sell an EV, they sell one fewer gasoline car. And the gasoline car they make money on, and the EVs they lose money on. The traditional OEMs are troubled right now, and I think ultimately, they're going to make metal, they're going to make the units, and ultimately they're going to buy software from Tesla. Tesla is going to be like like Intel inside of a Microsoft computer. That's going to be Tesla. So Tesla is going to be everything that makes the car, all the inside is going to be Tesla. That's what's ultimately they're going to be licensed.
Are you buying any additional Tesla or SpaceX, or have you kind of maxed out where you feel comfortable with your fund, which is a diversified fund?
In the funds that I manage, I've been maxed out. We had when the stock went up 20 times after we bought it.
Yeah.
We sold for clients about a quarter of the shares. I didn't sell a share personally. I committed to the directors of our mutual funds. I only invest in mutual funds normally. I made an exception in this instance, and I said I was the last in, I would last out, and I won't sell a single share for myself until we sell all of our client stock. And as far as buying more, I would buy more if I could, but I can't. And other guys at our firm are nibbling. They do think that this is a great price. This is when they introduce this Model 2, they're going to have the cost half of what it is right now, half. And they're going to sell the car for, I don't know, maybe a third less than what it is right now, and there's credits. So this is Toyota almost bankrupted the whole automobile industry 20 years ago.
Well, do you at the same time think that the big three have their work cut out for them? We're going to have UAW head on today, Sean Fain, and what the rank and file are asking for, given the uncertain future of whether Americans ever embrace non-Tesla EVs. I mean, would you think that the big three have the work cut out for them? Would you at least acknowledge that, do you think?
I haven't studied the big three
You don't own
relationships with the unions. I don't own them, although I really like Mary Barra, but I don't own
Would
them.
you like to compete against Tesla?
I would hate to compete against Tesla. So Warren Buffett initially would say, said, 20 years ago, 15 years ago, he said that, he wouldn't invest in Tesla. And now he says he would hate to compete against Tesla. So to go on to this, so the Model 2, this is coming within, by 2025. When that comes, that's going to be exactly the same thing as what happened when Tesla introduced the Model S. So you're going to see this tremendous change going on there. And then, as I said before, the software, core competency, Model 2 half price, and then Dojo. So Dojo.
Oh, right.
Yes, I said, what is Dojo?
Yeah.
The Dojo is a training. And what that is, that they have this massive amount of data for all these cars that have been driving around for millions and millions of miles, and that keeps growing exponentially. No one has that. So they have this data, but to crunch the data, you need compute. And compute is what NVIDIA has. And NVIDIA has compute, a chip, which is for everyone to use. They have all these different, all these different, opportunities that this company has. What our company has is they're making their own compute. And they, in 18 months, are going to have more compute than anyone in the world, Tesla. And compute is stuff that's in your basements as opposed to the chip that's in your car. So what they're going to have is they will have so much massive capacity to provide services to cars and to be able to train this data, to train your car on this data.
Right.
So what's the competitive advantage is the data, and the training is going to be provided by this compute, and they're going to have more of it than anyone. Nobody can catch them. Last year, by the way, you read about the number of people that are seeking jobs, and they're saying that there's too many people seeking the jobs, or whatever they say it is, with too few people. And what Tesla has is last year or this year, I think they have 3.5 million people seeking 30,000 jobs. Last year, they had 3 million people seeking 20,000 jobs. So there's 130,000 people. So
But
Okay, Brian. So a couple things he said there that was interesting, right? I don't know if I can hear you, Brian. He said that I can't hear you. He said that the energy is going to be 30 times larger than where they are today. And then I don't know if we heard it here in this clip, but he did say that this is a great time to invest in Tesla right now because there was a jump early on to 20 times where they were now, and we are at 2 million cars, and it's going to get to 20 million cars. And so you bet your life this is the time to invest now. So what did you take out of all this? Yeah, I can hear you now.
Well, okay, good. Ron's got some inside information that we don't have. Ron is a big institutional investor, and they do get access that you and I will not see. And I've seen people say, well, that's illegal. Nope, that's industry standard. The big industry guys get site visits. They get looks at things we don't because they are substantial owners in the company. The fact that Ron's associates are still buying, the fact that he himself still wants to buy, that is very bullish information. Now you've got one thing he is saying is it's going to be half the price. Now, if he's saying half the price of the Model Y, I'm with you. If he's saying half the price of the Model 3, I don't see how we get those kinds of cost reductions. But again, he has seen things that it is entirely possible. He knows things we don't.
Yeah, what he said was the cost to Tesla will be half the cost, but the price is likely 1/3 the price reduction.
Right, but I still don't see how they would. If the cost to build a Model 3 is something like 30,000, I don't see how they get Tesla's cost down to 15.
Yeah.
I don't see the roadmap, and I'm looking at Chinese companies as my benchmark, and they don't know.
But it's what Tesla said. They said that the new compact car is going to be half the footprint, half the cost.
But did they say of the Model 3, or did they say just half the cost?
That's
okay.
Right?
Yeah. That is the aspirational goal. Any steps they get in that direction is going to be helpful. And again, Ron may know, they've got a revolutionary carbon fiber hull that can just be popped out in minutes and save all the robots. That maybe that's the thing. In which case, maybe the car is 10,000 to build. But uh, there's steps missing. This video is great. Ron gets it. Ron's always got it. Ron's been one of the early investors, and he's had the vision then. He still has the vision, and he gets to see behind the curtain in ways others don't. So he's done very well with his confidence. But others have had other people who are as smart as Ron have had confidence in other things that didn't pay off. Now, Ron talking about Dojo, I assume he's got analysts that work with him that can help him understand where Tesla's at with that. My analysts are, Scott Walter and Dr. Know-It-All and James Dalma, and these are the people I'm using to understand where AI and robotics and all that are at. And it's tough. It's a lot to understand. But if he's got confidence, I'm feeling pretty good myself.
Yeah, I agree. So Ron is quite accurate and he's definitely a bull. But like you said, one thing you just brought up that I didn't really think about, which is very true. Thank you for bringing that up, is that Ron at his level, at the investment amount that they put in, he gets access. He gets more information than many of us do. So we have to keep that in mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thanks. I mean, glad that he got interviewed by CNBC. We just reported yesterday how many episodes that CNBC spat out yesterday that were all very negative to Tesla, despite Adam Jonas's Morgan Stanley report that we reported on quite heavily about the increase in price target of $400. And the reason is because of Dojo and how it can go beyond just autonomy, but to many different industries and applying SaaS as a SaaS service. So, okay, so let's get to the really big news, I think. You tell me if you think this is big news, but basically, this is just came out today, which is the European Union is launching this probe into the Chinese electric vehicle companies. They're obviously seeing the Chinese EVs coming in and starting to flood Europe, and they're getting afraid. And so they're saying that, hey, the Chinese electric vehicles, these guys are subsidized by the Chinese government, and that can't be something we need to do. So Chinese automobile and component exports more than doubled in 2021 from a year ago, exceeding 30% growth in China's exports overall. So the executive arm of the European Union, the European Commission, they launched an investigation into subsidies. President Ursula von der Leyen, speaking at the State of the Union address, she confirmed the probe. Europe is open to competition, but not a race to the bottom. Because, of course, if China's going to flood them and have subsidized prices, what's going to happen to the European automobile industry? She said, take the electric vehicle sector. It is crucial industry for the clean economy with a huge potential in Europe. But global markets are now flooded with cheaper Chinese electric cars, and their prices are kept artificially low by huge state subsidies. This is distorting our market, and as we do not accept this distortion from inside our market, we do not accept this from outside. So what's your thought about a European Union chasing this down?
Great. Do an investigation. Investigate away. But it's not an unusual practice. It's not an uncommon practice. And it's not a practice that Europe itself doesn't engage in. Europe has huge incentives to build battery factories, to build cars, which are exported. So they're doing the same thing. The U.S. has huge incentives to build batteries in the U.S. that go in cars that then can be exported to other countries. Now, we're not doing as much exporting. Europe is not doing as much exporting, but that rule doesn't exist. We are building Model S and X for shipment to other parts of the world. And these companies are benefiting with tax dollars to do it. European Union is right to be afraid. They should see those imports and be concerned. But these cars are not bargain basement cars in Europe. They still cost as much as the competition. They might be $1,000 cheaper. It might be that the margin is a little more positive than it would be otherwise. But these guys are, they're throwing anything they can at the wall to see what sticks. And I don't think that the Chinese manufacturers have done anything wrong. Now, you've got some numbers that show in detail what the actual numbers are of the subsidies they've received, and they're all things that are published. They're well known, well understood. So I don't think any attempt to call this dumping which is what the term would be for the anti-competitive practice, I don't think it's going to stick.
Interesting, Brian. Very interesting. Okay. We'll see what happens there. But this is just to clarify exactly how much subsidies these Chinese electric vehicles are getting. This M4 Electric really appreciated their tweet thread that they did. So BYD is heavily subsidized by the government. And here I will let you know the true financials of BYD without government subsidy. So now we finally have a great detailed expert. So here in 2022, this is how much government subsidies BYD did. So yuan and renminbi, it's about 7-1. So for every electric vehicle, the government is subsidizing BYD 12,600 yuan, which is around $2,000, right? 2,000 US dollars. And so they received $16 billion yuan from BYD total. And then there's an additional for asset-based subsidies. And then in cash flow, they actually got cash directly from the government, 9.9 billion. So if you look at how this impacts BYD's financials, if we get rid of these subsidies, here's what would happen. BYD's gross profit would fall by 24%. Their earnings would fall 84%. Okay, that's, I think that's the big signal here. Their cash flow would fall 60%. And so you can see how much exactly they're getting. This is how, all of this is the total. If you total up the different kinds of subsidies, operation, assets, purchase, government subsidies, here's what you'll see how it impacts. So, all right, this looks like it's around 70 billion won. So it's about, again, 71. So it's about $10 billion in profit.
And I don't know, I haven't audited these numbers. I don't know how authentic they are. But if you look at how much money somebody like Panasonic or Tesla gets for manufacturing batteries in Nevada, you're looking at even more dollars. This is just what is being done around the world to incentivize new technology in the green sector. And I know, and I'm not familiar with that user on X, so I can't speak to the veracity of the chart. Taken at face value, it still doesn't look that bad to me. It's a big company that's doing the things that governments want to incentivize, so they're getting an incentive to do it. The bigger concern for the European guys should be that even if you take out all those subsidies, they're still turning a profit, which is something that other car companies are struggling to do, even with their incentives.
Barely turning a car profit. Okay, so let's.
No, yeah, but a profit.
Okay,
wow.
Let's break down what you just said, because it's I'm very interested that you're actually, the position you've taken is very much supportive of these subsidies, which I agree. I think that it's wonderful that the governments are subsidizing electric vehicles, just tremendous benefits for not only the environment, but everything is much more effective and so forth. And of course, we know that China is trying to make a play. They're trying to become an automobile industry, building it in there and exporting it, which they never were, right? It was always Japan, it was always Europe. And now China's got, the lead in electric vehicles. So they're going to subsidize heavily. And so, so Europeans they're struggling. So they're going to probably put restrictions on how much they can do. And guess what? Who's going to benefit out of this? It's going to be Tesla. Between the union that might happen this Friday in the big three auto here in the US, and then the European Union looking at subsidies from the Chinese, Tesla's going to succeed in both lands here quite easily. And I think that the question we need to understand is, without the subsidies, would BYD still succeed? Would they still be there? Like I just said, I think it's barely a profit. And so, yes, they could still survive, but it's just,
I would say they would absolutely survive, because without the subsidies, yes, but without the subsidies, they wouldn't be expanding as aggressively. They would scale back operations, be a smaller, leaner, meaner, more profitable company. And they are still 100% in their growth phase. They will be adding factories around the world. They are a force to be reckoned with. And, if you say, well, we got to back those numbers out, that's the same thing that James Stevenson, I cannot underscore enough, cautioned when people would say Tesla's only profitable with carbon offset credits, ZEV credits. Yeah. And is that, well, yes, but those are still there. They are still real money. We do still count them.
Okay. Thank you for that. Good opinion. So next up is just a couple of other quick stories here. So we've got the Chinese solar giant. I don't know how you say this. Trina is opening a 5 gigawatt factory in Texas. So the story here is that this company is one of the world's largest solar panel makers. And they just announced this new factory in Texas. It's going to be in Dallas. $200 million facility will be more than 1 million square feet in size and will create 1,500 local jobs. Okay. And they're going to source the raw material from the US and Europe, and it's going to come online very quickly, 2024. That's next year. So this company is headquartered in China. They were founded in 1997, and they are, selling one of the largest, right? 150 gigawatts of solar panels to more than 100 countries. So what happened was the U.S. Department of Commerce, they basically, started to slap them with tariffs because they found out that they were processing some of their panels from Southeast Asian countries before shipping it to the U.S. And so what they had to do was they opened a factory in Vietnam. And then, of course, now they're opening one directly here in the U.S. as well. What's your thoughts about this news?
Very exciting. There's a lot of money to be made in solar. I imagine there are incentives for companies building solar in the U.S., just like there are with batteries and mining and refining as well. So I would say that on that one, if they went out and replicated their factory in Vietnam and it went smoothly, and they looked at it and said, that was not painful, we could do this again, let's do it in Texas. Now, Texas labor is going to be a bit more expensive. Texas power is probably more expensive than they can get, certainly in China, maybe even in Vietnam. But that ends up being a smaller part of the cost. And if you've got incentives, if you've got the ability to waive 10, 20% import tariffs, if you've got any kind of savings on shipping, solar panels are quite bulky. It starts to add up. So maybe this is something that would work. Yeah. And we just need more solar panels. So in that regard, it's already a win.
Good news. Yep. Good reminder that it's heavy. All right. Another bit of news is India. We've known that there's been, discussions about Giga India. Possibly, I don't know if this is a news that says that Giga India is going to happen, but it just shows that Tesla plans to double their component sourcing from India to 1.9 billion this year, according to the minister there. So Tesla bought $1 billion worth of automobile components from India in 2022, and it's now targeting to almost double it from 1.7 to 1.9 billion this year. What do you make of this news?
I make that as very exciting, but I had no idea we were already buying $1 billion in parts from India. That's absolutely news to me. I don't know where those parts are going. I don't know which parts they are, but $1 billion in 2022 in Tesla parts from India. Great. That's exciting. That just goes to show that the supply chain's already at least a bit in motion. So.
Okay. I mean, I could take that either way. It could mean that, Elon did visit Prime Minister in India earlier this year. And I think that he said, we're going to do investments. Well, it could just have been just automobile components, and people thought it was going to be a gigafactory. I'm sure India is still vying for it, but I don't know. This is just news. I don't know what it means. Okay. The next one is there's another study that just confirmed that Tesla's insurance business could actually disrupt and likely going to disrupt the auto market in insurance industry. So this study from MarketWatch, and that they're how that in the insurance that Tesla provides is very much based on this new telemetrics, just so much more information. And so it says here that while many traditional insurance companies are raising rates for Tesla car owners or refusing to cover Tesla cars, I think initially because there was not enough service centers around, and so it was much more costlier to support it. But also they just didn't. They thought that it was going to be more expensive and so forth. Well, so then that forced Tesla to create their own insurance company, and it's based on a safety score. So as you drive, it knows how good of a driver you are, and it offers better savings. And so what this article revealed was that in 2019, when it launched, Tesla said that drivers could see savings of 20 to 30%. In reality, these discounts may even be higher. So Tesla insurance rates are approximately 49% lower than the competition in Texas. So of course, it depends on Texas, probably a lot of other components. So yeah, and then so this also just to catch up here, there's 12 states that is offering this at this point. Yeah, what's your thoughts on Tesla insurance? It's been a while since I've asked you that question.
It's an interesting one, and we haven't had much room to talk about it because the state by state approvals go so slow. It's such a cumbersome process. But an interesting thing was pointed out to me within the last week by a viewer I spoke with. He said, do you know why they even have these metrics, these telematics that are different than other insurance companies? Why does Tesla care? Prior to, if we're not doing insurance, why do they care who the best drivers are? And the answer is that's whose training data we're feeding into Dojo. We're not giving it the data from the guy with a 30 safety score. We're giving him giving it the 98s and up. So it's just one more example of using the whole buffalo. We had to slaughter it anyway. Might as well get 2, 3, 4 uses out of everything we build. And so it just makes sense. It's another one that Tesla's doing differently.
You are so brilliant, Brian. I got to tell you, every single story here, you've shared something I did not know. So I did obviously understand better from my interview with James Dama this weekend. If you haven't seen it, folks, please go watch that video. James is a brilliant. And so he just confirmed that what we've been hearing, that what matters for autonomy, for FSD to be solved, is they need video, but more importantly, they need video of good drivers. And so they still are using labelers, but now the labelers are more about discerning which are the good drives and which ones aren't, right? And so what you've just said is something that just blew my mind, which is, well, they can use the insurance of people using the safety scores. And even if they don't use the insurance, they can use a safety score to determine who are actually the better drivers, and then use that feed to actually determine which videos to grab from which cars, as opposed to, don't grab the ones that are bad drivers. Just don't even bother, right?
Right. Train on bad data, get bad results. Yeah.
Very good, Brian. You're so good. Okay, final story is your favorite topic, which I think you called wrong, because last December, you really thought Tesla Semi was going to just knock it out of the park. We haven't heard anything from them, but it turns out that this independent study shows that the hype is real. So at least we know that Semi is a powerful product. It's going to work. And so this independent study looked at, I think they looked at 4 or a handful of Tesla semis, and they did a deep dive on how exactly they're performing. And here's data for, they showed data, but basically it looks like it's 416 miles, average 416 miles per day, 3 deliveries, average deliveries per day is 3. So they're hitting it. They're basically doing it correctly, is what the article was saying. So thoughts on what's happening with semi?
So that's very exciting. I am happy to see that. Those numbers surprised me to the upside. Those are pleasant surprises. I would have guessed that it was probably doing 200 to 300 miles a day, but 416 is wonderful. I absolutely thought last year that this was going to be the year of the semi, and it has not been. I am still hopeful that now 2025 will be, because they've still got to build that factory for it, which is going to take a while, and they really haven't gotten started in earnest on that. In the meantime, serious electric semi competitors are out there. Last week at Fully Charged in Vancouver, BC, I got to talk with reps from Peterbilt, reps from Volvo. They have electric semis already on the road. There are companies making electric buses. Mack was there with their electric garbage truck. Electrification of big stuff is already happening. And so it's time. Tesla needs to get, they're no longer looking like they're the leader. They're looking like they're the follower, and they need to get in gear and, take the lead if they want it.
All right. Thank you so much, Brian. That was fantastic. Every single story, you had something that was a gem. I appreciate you. Folks, if you haven't already, check out his channel on YouTube, MyTeslaWeekend. Just one of the best YouTubers out there. Guaranteed you will learn something new. He's really a gem himself. Thank you so much, Brian. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Herbert.